Brenda here with My Pastor's Wife Designs, and I don't know about you, but I love the Northern Lights. So that being said, I did look at some Northern Lights videos, and I'm pretty sure I'm planning a vacation to go see them now, but let me tell my husband, don't you do it. So these are the cards that I have come up with just looking at video of Northern Lights. This was one that they had captured in Scotland, and then this one is one that I believe was in Alaska, maybe, I can't remember, and this one was also in Alaska, and then I added the bridge in the foreground just to give it some interest. Then finally Iceland. So anyway, I want to show you the technique that I came up with on how to make these cards. It's a lot of fun, and I hope you'll join me. Hey everybody, it's Brenda here with My Pastor's Wife Designs, and today I wanted to show you how to make a Northern Lights inspired card. I really like this technique, and I just think it's so pretty because I love the Northern Lights, and to be honest with you, I want to go see them now after watching videos. And so today I want to just show you a real simple, or what I feel like is a simple technique. I know that it looks like it's really overwhelming, but it's not. And we're going to create a Northern Lights card. And so you just see the different ones that I did here. And I have to tell you, one of my Stamp Club members showed up at my house this morning, and she was a little overwhelmed by the fact that we were going to do this, and she thought it looked really hard, and when she left she was super excited because it turned out to be pretty simple and she really enjoyed herself. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. You are going to want to get yourself out some of the Whisper White heavier cardstock, a little bit thicker because we're putting so much ink on it. And you're going to want to cut it into a 4.5 by, or excuse me, a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch piece. And on this one, the first thing that we want to do is think about placement of like our foreground. We're not going to put our foreground in or not, but always keep in mind that when you're doing anything that has a horizon in it, to consider that 2/3 of your card is going to be horizon. So if you're not 100% sure, you can do what I'm going to do here, and I'm just going to take a pencil and I'm just going to say, okay, I want some of my hills to come down like this, and maybe into this, and then up, and then maybe up again, right? And I may even put a small stream bed in here. I think I will, so you guys can see how that's done. That at least gives me an idea of where I want my placement of my things to be. So with that being said, I did say I wanted to put some water in it, and we are going to start just right away with some stamping. We will be using the from the Timeless Texture stamp set. We're going to be using this piece right here. I think it's supposed to be a wood grain, but it works really well for water, especially in this application. We're going to use Lost Lagoon. And like I said, we want to remember that we are not doing our whole sky. So by penciling this in, you're seeing a little bit of definition. So I'm just going to go ahead and ink my pad up, and then I'm just going to put my creek bed right there. And that's all I'm going to put in because I don't need any more than that. And then I will go ahead and just set this aside because we're done with that one. Now I want to start with my Northern Lights, and I want mine to dance like these are dancing. You can also do them like this, and these are just as pretty, and it's another technique, and it's simple as well. But I like this dance. I just love the ribbon lights when the Northern Lights dance. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that technique. So I came up with a way to do that so you're not fighting your sponge so much, and I actually cut some stencils, so to speak, out of some leftover cardstock, and I'm going to use these pieces to create my ribbons. So first thing we want to do is choose our stamp colors, and I am going to, or our ink colors, not our stamp colors. I am going to be using So Saffron, and I will be using Old Olive. I'm going to have a touch of the pink Pirouette, and then I will be using the Mint Macaron. So the first thing I want to do is get my stencil, and I want my light color yellow, and I have used the sponges that we get, the round ones, I've cut them in 6 parts like a pie, and then just hooked a binder clip to one end of it so I have control and I don't get as much ink on my fingers. So I'm going to go ahead and get that opened up and get my sponge done. I want to tell you that when you do this, figure out your placement of how you think you want that to go. And I know that I want mine to swoop different ways and kind of ribbon around. So I'm going to start this one right here. And what's going to happen is my color will be in here. So the white's going to be on the outside. So keep that in mind when you place your stencils down. And I'm gonna have some of it come right down into where we'll put a foreground in. And okay, so we're going to ink up our sponge. Always remember you can add ink to your paper, but you can't take it away. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start on our mask or our stencil and go out. Because if you come at it, you're going to shove ink under that stencil and it's going to look funny. And also what happens is you get a really weird hard line, which just doesn't make sense. So you're going to go off of your paper and put these colors out. Now the reason I'm doing this is because I want that ribbon. If you weren't doing the ribbon, you could just do this up and down, or mostly up and out, and you would just get that other look that I was showing you that isn't the ribbons, and then you can kind of run along your sides. All right, so now when I lift this up, you can see what I mean by the ribbon and how it's dancing across the sky. Now I think I want another one dancing, but I don't want it to be as crazy as that one because they're all different, but I also want it to have some visual interest. So this one, I'm going to go this way and I'm going to dance it this way. Again, onto your mask and off onto your paper. All right, so we've got these two that are kind of dancing along. Now I'm going to pull my mask back again because I want to use some other colors, but I don't want it to come down into my white because I want it to have a pretty stark contrast. So I've got all the yellow that I want to use right now, and I am going to switch and I'm going to get out some Old Olive. Again, same idea with your sponge and inking it. Again, like I said, you can always add, but you can't take away. But I'm going to slide this. If you notice, I have that right there. I don't want it right on top of it because I'm going to want this to blend. So I'm going to push it up just a little bit and do the same thing. I still want my yellow to show, but I want some blending, and it's going to be okay if it has a little bit of a line. You see we've got the two ribbons, and then I'm going to grab my other stencil that I had, and this time I'm just going to do the same thing. And again, all right, and that's all I want on that one. Now I am going to get out my Mint Macron because I want to just give it a little bit of depth in that sky. I'm not going to use my stencils because I'm going to do a little bit of blending, and I'm going to come in and just kind of twist it. Make it dance. Make your sponge kind of dance too. And you see how it's adding just that extra level of the mint and the blue. Kind of giving it a nice little blend. I'll do it on this side too. Now, I do want to add just a tiny bit of pink. I don't want a lot of pink in this particular one. Sometimes there's a lot of pink in them, but I want to just kind of stick with the greens and the blues. But I will put a little tiny bit of pink in it because in the picture that I saw, there was just an edge of pink, which was really quite pretty. So as I said, I've got the pink pirouette. Another one that's really pretty is the strawberry slush, but you want to go with a really light hand with it because that can get dark fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up and twist it up in the where it's coming in. So I think that's enough pink on those. So we've got our Northern Lights in there. Again, I know it doesn't look like much. So our foreground, we are using a stamp called, well, it's from Sheltering Tree. I guess I don't know what it's called. I call it a mound of dirt. You can call it whatever you want. I'm going to get that stamp, and we are going to use Early Espresso because it isn't a night scene and I want it to be fairly dark. And then where I penciled in my lines, I'm going to go ahead and kind of ink this up. Actually, and I want to tell you, get your piercing mat because it gives you a better background to use the photopolymer stamps. And I want to just kind of follow my pencil line that I had. And I am creating kind of a rocky, hilly look. That's my plan anyway. And it doesn't matter if you kind of want your creek bed to have some edges, because a real creek would have that. You don't want to just kind of going off there in the distance. And I'm going to turn this around because I'm kind of going to run this off the page a little bit. All right, and then I'm going to take just a mask because I don't want to get this into my water. You can see I've done it before, and give this some definition here as well. All right, so I've got that done, and that's pretty much how I want it. I may come back in later, but we'll see, because that looks like snow and I like that as well. All right, so now our next step is to get our sky in to make our lights dance, and we are going to use Dapper Denim. You could also use Night of Navy. You want a good dark blue, and this is going to just take some work. So you're going to get another sponge, ink up your sponge pretty good, and then you're going to come in your spots that are white. Now you don't have to get all your white because you want some reflection. Oh, you know what, speaking of reflection, while I've got it here and I'm thinking about it, grab your yellow and your yellow sponge, and let's put some reflection down in our water, because the water is going to reflect our northern lights. All right, now let's get back to the blue. So again, like I said, you're going to work it in. Always come from the outside of your card in. Don't go from the inside out, because you want the edges to be the darker part of your night sky, and you don't want it to splotch. Go ahead and go over your land that you put in, because the night sky does affect our land as well as just the sky, and does give it a different color. A little bit over that pink, but not a lot. I'm going to come up in here on my horizon. Like I said, kind of want to keep a little bit lighter here in the center because it would be that way. And you're just going to keep working it until you have the darkness you want. Okay, I think that's about where I want that with the blue. And then I am going to go ahead and get out the basic gray, because I want a few darker shadows here in some spots. And I'm going to use a sponge dauber. This one you want to be careful with so you don't get any spots like that. But we're going to go ahead and ink up, and again come from the outside in. And I want these edges especially to be just a little bit darker, because I want most of the focal point to be on my sky, because we're looking at the northern lights after all. I get a touch, and then I want all right, and that's about how I want that. Now, so what we're going to do is we're going to put some foreground interest in it. And I decided to use the Lovely as a Tree set, and I'm using the multiple trees in that set. I'm going to ink this up a little differently because I want to use specific trees at specific spots, and if I ink them all at the same time, that could be a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my basic black pen, and I am going to ink up the trees that I want in certain spaces. So I want this guy for sure. And I want some of the ground, and I'm gonna color more of the ground than just because it works really well. All right, now I know that I think I want him, yeah, because I want some stuff to go into the stream too. I want him right there. So you see what I did? I've got him, and I've got a little bit of land and stuff that's kind of going into the stream, my tree, and then I'm going to go ahead and ink him again. And this time I'm going to ink just him. You like how I named it a him? I'm going to ink that tree and these two trees on this side. And again, I would use the ink pad, but it doesn't give me, I have more control with what I want to do here. So, all right, and this time, I think, let's go ahead and go up here. Get him up in the skyline a little bit, and you can see how we're building this foreground. And then, even though these are inked, they're not going to get in my way for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and ink these guys up on this side, because then I can do that on the other side of the picture. And that may be all I need. It may not be, but it may be. And then I will go ahead and just put them down there. All right, I really kind of like how that is, but I feel like this needs just a little bit more. So I think is what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to pull the pine tree out of the Lovely as a Tree set as well and use it, because I really like it, and it'll give us one good strong focal piece. Again, I'm just going to use my black ink, my black marker, because I have it out, and it works. So go ahead and give this a nice ink. All right, and we're going to go ahead and set him right here in the front on the foreground. Give it a good press, let it set for just a second to suck the ink off, and there we go. Yep, I like that because it just gives it a little bit of definition. So we are pretty much done with our foreground. The only thing I am going to do is cut this. First, I want to add just a little bit of snow, so I'm going to use a white gel pen, and I'm going to kind of go in under some of these tree spots where snow would naturally sit, and actually just kind of almost scribble it in. You see how I'm just giving it a little scribble, and what that's adding is just a little texture and definition where snow would maybe sit. And then on this side as well, I'm going to put a little snow in my water. Just there we go. So you can see where I put the snow in. Now I think the northern lights are very pretty if there's some snow going on. So we are going to get our craft ink. I'm going to get Whisper White, and this time I want to use, here is our Touches of Texture, and it's this stamp right here. Now I'm not going to ink this heavily because I don't want a lot, and I certainly don't want these big splotches, so I'm going to ink an edge and put that in there. So you see what I'm doing here, just inked the edge, and I think we need a little bit of snow right there, and maybe a little tiny bit right there, especially in the blue. But like I said, I don't want a lot because I don't want to take away from my lights. So that really, okay, that is all of the snow I want on it, because I don't want it to look so snowy that we lose the snow I want on it because I don't want it to look so snowy that we lose the lights again. And then just for a little tiny bit of shimmer, we are going to use the Wink of Stella. I'm going to go in, and it's the clear one, and I'm going to pick up a little edge, and I'm going to pick up an edge, and it just gives it a little bit of shimmer. It almost looks like the stars are dancing through it, which is kind of cool. And that, my friends, is a Northern Lights card. You see, it's really not that hard, and you can come up with so many great ideas. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you too will try your hand at some Northern Lights cards yourself. Thanks so much. I'm Brenda at My Pastor's Wife Designs.